Hello, I am Nurse Lucy, and today I'm going to share with you what is in one of these. This little red first aid kit. So this will be part of your training, and we're going to be going over all the things in this kit. Okay, good. Feel free to take notes, but with your basic training already done, none of the items in here should come as too much of a surprise. So, shall we take a look inside? Wonderful. Now, I will be just very briefly doing a mini test at the end, so make sure that you stay nice and alert. Okay? Good. So let's have a look inside. Okay, so this is obviously just a mini first aid kit. However, if you had to be on call, this is a great kit to have with you. Okay, so let's begin. We'll start first with a very simple yet quite crucial item. Okay, so let me put the rest of the kit down just for a moment. So what we have here is some safety pins. Now, do you know why this is a vital part of the kit? So, yes and no. Yes, in the sense that these are really mainly used to help secure bandages. Okay? So we have a variety of sizes, and that's always important because we don't always know the size of the injury, so we don't know what size bandage we will be applying. So having the different sizes, we've got small, medium and large, is definitely advisable. Moving on, following the mention of bandages, something else that you will need is this adhesive tape. Now, the adhesive tape is very useful because it can help to secure bandages, but also wound pads. So the type of padded pads that you use to protect and cover a wound can be secured first before applying a larger bandage with some microporous adhesive tape like this. This tape does come in different sizes, but this is a smaller version just because of the size of the kit. So it comes out like this, and you can see it's just on a little reel like so. And what you would want to do is you would want to apply the tape to the wound pad, and then should you need to protect that anymore, you would then apply a bandage on top, and you would secure that with the safety pin. Good. Next, one of the most important things before we start any type of procedure, of course, is to not only make sure that our hands have been protected with antibacterial gel, but also to apply some gloves. Now, it's important to check whether the patient has a latex allergy. This can be quite rare, but it's important to ask. A lot of the gloves in hospitals will be latex free, but the ones in this kit are just standard gloves. Now make sure that you do carry spare gloves with you. This one has 4 pairs inside. It's important to check the size of the gloves to ensure that they are a good fit for you. Of course, the good thing with first aid kits is that you can replenish your kit, and so if these gloves aren't quite right for you, you could always replace them with gloves that fit you better. Obviously, the better fitting the glove, the more safe it's going to be, because it's going to make sure that you're fully protected. So, as we can see, this is quite a standard fit for gloves. You can see that all of my fingers are protected and fully covered, but with some room to breathe. Always check the other hand as well. If a patient is feeling particularly uncomfortable and cold, it is advisable to just warm up the gloves. This can be done by just rubbing the hands together like so. It is advisable to rub the gloves once they are on your hands. Otherwise, if you rub them before, they could become contaminated. So just make sure that they're at a nice, comfortable temperature, because we don't want to cause any further distress to the patient. So so once you have your gloves sorted, that's a really good starting point. Now, the next item that you should have in your kit is some waterproof plasters. Now, the reason why I suggest having waterproof ones is simply because I do find that they do stick a little bit better, and of course when the patient, does get the little area wet, it could be through washing their hands or just washing in general, they are going to be slightly more protected. It is of course advisable if your patient has an area of plasters or wound pads to cover that area with some plastic wrap or a bag, just to ensure that the area doesn't become wet. Now, these plasters come in a variety of sizes. It's always good to get an assorted pack. So these are some square plasters, because again, you never know what type of wound you're going to be dealing with. Then we have the standard, slightly larger pads, like so. And finally, some ones like this, which are quite good for placing round fingers. These are also good for placing over when the patient has had an injection. Okay, so plasters are definitely an essential, and they're great to have, especially if you don't have any wound pads to hand, and you can pop that on to give a bit of extra padding and protection at the same time. So, how are you finding it so far? No surprises? Good, good. You're doing very well at listening. I'm trying to go through it nice and slowly, just so that you can take it all in. Okay. Now that does bring me to speaking about some of the wound pads. So to start with, we have a couple of sort of burn / wound lint pads. So what you do is simply press this against the wound, making sure that the whole area is nice and covered. So this particular kit comes with a couple these sides. It's important to check the expiration date on the pads. These expire in 2023, so do keep a check, especially if you've had a kit for quite a while. And then we do have some larger dressings. So this is a little non-adherent dressing, and these are going to cover the area really nicely, but also it's going to give a little bit more of some padded protection. So if the wound is quite open, and quite raw, then this is going to provide some comfort because you're going to be able to cover the area and provide some padding for the patient. The important thing is to try to assess what would be best for the patient. Obviously, you want to be able to ensure that they can move comfortably and freely as is possible. And if need be, these larger pads can be cut down to size or even layered to provide that extra level of comfort. And finally, we just have some other sizes. So these are slightly smaller pads, okay? So these are double-sided dressings, okay? So they're all suitable to use for the wound and then also to just cover up. It's very important to make sure that before any wound pad is applied, that you have obviously fully cleaned the area. This can provide some discomfort to the patient, but it's very, very important to do. We do this to prevent infection, and then the nice clean wound pad can be applied, and in the long run that's going to provide a lot more comfort for them. So again, just really about assessing what would be the best option for the patient and making them aware that if anything like this is used, that they do need to keep the area dry. This can be done, as mentioned before, with a plastic wrap or cling film or saran wrap. Or this can be done by wrapping a plastic bag around the arm and then securing with some heavy duty tape. Obviously being very careful not to interfere with the wound itself, but once these do get wet, they do need to be changed. So if the patient isn't provided with spares, then you will need to ask them to return to you to have some more reapplied. Obviously, if they have had to travel to come and see you, or if this is in an emergency situation, then you just need to make them aware of that. Okay? So, I think we have sufficiently covered the wound pads. So, let's move on to the bandages. So it's important to carry some spares of these. So this is a medium sterile dressing, and as we discussed earlier, this can be used to just secure your wound pad. So once you have applied your pad and you have secured with your adhesive tape, you can then apply your nice sterile dressing. again, it's very important to ensure that the way you are applying the bandage is nice and comfortable, because it's much more likely to become dislodged or be taken off by the patient if it's not actually very comfortable. So when you are applying the bandage, it's important to ask your patient if it's comfortable. Now, when they have had an injury, you can imagine nothing is going to feel overwhelmingly comfortable, but we can do our best to make them as comfortable as possible. So we have our medium sterile dressing. Then we have our large sterile dressing. So as shown here, this can be used for larger parts of the body. This could be used to help secure one of the larger wound pads. If in real desperate need, this could be used as a sort of sling to help support a wrist injury, although it would be better to do that with more of a sling fabric. It's important to make sure that you do repurchase sterile bandages, and again in the type of sizes small, medium and large. So next up we have our Crepe bandage, and this bandage is going to be great for when you need something a little bit more flexible, but also you can create quite a rigid bandage with this. So this would be very useful if you needed to provide support for the wrist. It can be bound round many times, and that creates quite a stiff effect. Has a little bit of elastic in, and that's going to be great to really get the right shaping. Again, the most important thing is the comfort of the patient, and by having a variety of bandages and wound pads available, you can ensure that they feel nice and comfortable. So again, this is your standard size, 5 centimeters by 4.5 centimeters crepe bandage. Lovely. Keeping up so far? Good. So next we have this. Now, we did mention earlier about potentially using one of the bandages as a sling, and that's in case you don't have one of these. Now, this is a triangular non-woven bandage, and as you can see pictured, this can be used in a triangular fashion to help provide support to an arm injury. So what you do is simply place the arm in the sling and loop it over. I'm sure you've been shown how to do that. Good. But this is a slightly different material, and don't worry, I'll replace this one as I've now handled it. But this is in this type of non-woven fabric that's going to provide a little bit more structure, and you can see that even when I'm pulling at it like that, it's not tearing. So you can see how this is cut. So it's in this triangular fashion, and again you would just place this over the arm and secure round so that you create that kind of a loop. So you can have a feel of the material if you would like. It's that kind of where would you have felt the material? Well, I suppose during your training you'll have noticed the difference, but it does just provide quite a breathable feel, but it is just giving that extra support, and it means that if you do have one of these, you don't have to waste your other bandages. So it's really, really worth having one of these triangular non-woven bandages in your first aid kit, and then you know that you're going to have enough bandages spare. You don't have to waste them. Okay, good. So we're just on to the last couple of items. So obviously one of the main things that we need to do when treating anyone is to make sure that we clean the wound or injury, and we do that by using these. So these are sterile wound cleansing wipes. So as it says just on the back here, you simply just cleanse the wound with the wipe, and then you would apply your sterile dressing. This is saturated with a 0.9 sodium chloride solution. Okay, that's a 0.9 sodium chloride solution. Okay, so this particular kit actually comes with 4 little wipes. Okay, and please make sure that you replenish those, because you can't be applying dressings without cleansing properly. And then lastly we have a pair of these. Now, in order to ensure that your wound pads and dressings are the right size and length, you're going to need a pair of these, and it's quite handy having them in a small size And these are specially designed to cut the pads and the bandages. So I wouldn't advise replacing these if you ever need to with a larger pair. Just simply replace them with ones of the same size. And you'd simply take a nice clean cut. What you don't want is to have frayed edges of bandages, because it can cause irritation, especially if you have something rough against the skin. So you want to ensure a nice clean edge. So it's important that, just like all your other equipment, that these stay nice and clean, because of course they are going to be used to cut the bandages and the pads that will go onto the skin. So we have come to the ends of the contents of the first aid kit. I just want to finally show you the little leaflet that does come with the kit, should you need, when you're just starting out, to consult anything. So in here it opens out and it just shows you some of the things that you should do. Okay, so approach with care. Look out for live electricity, fumes and gas, falling debris and oncoming traffic. Step 2 is the response, so you may shake and shout and double check that the patient is okay. If you ask, "Are you alright?" do not move them if they say yes. If no, continue. Step 3, check their airways. Lift the chin to open the airway. Check breathing and look, listen and feel for no more than 10 seconds. Step 4, if breathing normally, place in the recovery position. And step 5, if there are difficulties, obviously you need to call for further help. There's obviously some more information on there about dealing with bleeding, burns and fractures. So that's always really handy to have, isn't it? Just in case. So that was everything in the kit. It was. Did you have any surprises or anything that you didn't expect? Okay, good. That is good. And a kit of this size is very handy because it doesn't take up too much room, and it means that you're going to have something with you at all times. So now comes for a little test. Are you ready? Okay, so question 1. What do you need to do before you apply a sterile wound pad? Good. You need to cleanse the pad the wound, with one of these. Very good. And what do those cleansing wipes contain? Very good, yes, the 0.9 sodium chloride solution. Now, before you treat anyone, what in your kit do you need to apply? Absolutely, your gloves. And what do you need to do if your gloves aren't quite right? Absolutely, you need to replenish them with ones that are your size. Very good. Now, should the patient have an injury involving the arm, what tool in your first aid kit is going to be the most useful? Very good. The triangular non-woven bandage. Excellent, excellent. Now, if you didn't have one of those available, what from your kit could you use? Very good. One of these. The large sterile dressings. Good. Now, if you wanted to provide a bit of rigidity to an injury, especially one around the wrist, what type of bandage from your first aid kit would you use? Are you sure? Very good. You would indeed use one of the Crepe bandages, and that's because they do just provide a little bit of stretch, and that means that you can wrap it round and round and it will provide quite a lot of support, so that's really good. Now, what will you need if you're unsure at what type of injury you're going to be dealing with? Almost. Try again. It could be that, but very good. So you're going to need different sized non-adherent dressings or wound pads. And last but not least, what do you need to secure your bandages? Very good. And what else? Excellent. So you will need your safety pins, and you'll also need your adhesive tape. Perfect. Well, I can tell that you were definitely paying attention, so well done, and thank you for your patience. But your patience today could save lives, so well done. Now, do you have any questions about anything in the kit today? Absolutely. I think the best thing to do is to familiarise yourself with your kit, because lots of kits are different, okay? If there are things you think are missing, then it's important that you go and add those in. And also, of course, it's important that you do replenish anything that you do use, because if it came to an emergency situation and you found yourself without those things, then you wouldn't want to be in that situation. Okay. Anything else at all? Yes, there are some pads and bandages that are better than others. You can do, your own research on those. Generally speaking, there is an industry standard, so just make sure that any bandages and pads that you are dealing with are sterile. Okay, that just means that they're not going to infect the wound any further. Okay, anything else at all? Oh, you're very welcome. I'm glad you found it nice and informative, and I will still be here should you need any further assistance or have any further questions. Okay? So I suggest that you go away today and you just think about some of the items that you've learned about and make sure that your own kit does include all of the basics. Okay? You're very welcome. Not a problem. I may be seeing you again soon then. Okay. Bye-bye then. Bye-bye. Okay. So, let's just place those back into the kit. And we'll also just place these. Lovely. And these. Put that here. Try and keep the kit nice and organised. Lovely. That's everything there. Let's do it back up. Perfect. Right, let's place that